Good morning. Today's with Jordan the Lion. You know, I have pretty much always lived my life by believing in just things will kind of present themselves at the right times when they're supposed to. And, you know, I think it was Wednesday. I was going to work that job at Rockwell, and we walked past that mural of Bukowski's books, and then right past it was the mural of Bukowski himself. Then the next day, I ended up working in San Pedro. I posted on my Facebook and everybody immediately is commenting Bukowski, go to his house, go to his grave, all that stuff. So it's just really taken over. Why fight it? Today I'm gonna go to the apartment when he was working at the post office and where he was able to quit the post office because of selling his writings. He lived there for like 9 or 10 years. That's actually pretty close to my neighborhood. In fact, I actually lived literally, once again, around the corner from it. And then I'm going to take you guys to his boyhood home. So today is all about Charles Bukowski. I have a lunch date today, so I got to try and squeeze in both of these before my date. I think I can do it. And just so you know he's alive and kicking, hey Ja, say hi to your friends. Say hi to your audience. Well, this is pretty surreal. This is the childhood home of Charles Bukowski. One of the greatest writers I think I've ever read, and a lot of the experiences that he writes about in Ham on Rye happened here. He actually moved here at the age of 11, and I think the house was about 5 or 6 years old, so it was pretty new. And this is where he wrote his very first short story in 1935, and in 1940, one of his writings was published when he was living here. This is also the house that his dad found his writings and flew into a rage and threw all of his clothes, his writings, his typewriter and everything right out here onto this lawn. Isn't that crazy? He actually, when he would write about his experience as a child, he would kind of call this house just, I forget what he called it, but it was just like nothing but bad memories. And wow, I can't believe I'm here. He moved out of here in 1942 because he couldn't get along, and then moved back in, I think, 47, something like that. Lived in a long line of shacks and hovels in Hollywood throughout his life. You know, and we went on a night tour of his house in San Pedro, which is the last place he lived, but this was his boyhood home here in Los Angeles, and I wanted to put it on here. The House of Agony, 2122 Longwood, and that's the yard. I'm going to go up and get a closer look of it. There it is. Childhood home of Charles Bukowski. I think it was recently sold, so it's got somebody lives here now. Actually, I just saw him out here a little bit ago. There it is. One of the greatest writers of our generation lived here. Here's a picture of Hank when he went back and revisited the house later on in life. Well, we're back in East Hollywood, and literally 20 minutes to 30-minute walk to the east of where I live now, and it's actually my old neighborhood where I moved from. We're gonna hit some of Charles Bukowski's haunts. So when Hank moved out of his parents' house, I mean, there was no way that was gonna work. And he had some menial jobs. He worked at Sears, and he worked at a place called Joan, and he had just kind of a few jobs here and there. Then he just decided to hit the road. And he traveled the country for a while, and then when he finally came back, he got a job working at the post office. We're gonna save that for another day also. But we'll probably hit the Union Street apartment and the post office on the same trip next time. But he started working at the post office, then he moved over to where we're going now. And he moved over here and lived here from 1963 until 1972. First I saw this, and then I saw this, and I'm like, is that supposed to be Michael Jackson? I'm guessing the he means yes. Well, there it is. There's the sign for it. You can see that. Novelist and poet resided here from 1963 to 1972. And if you've ever seen the documentary Bukowski, This is where he was living when they filmed that. That window right there in the center, that's the window he used to set his typewriter up next to, and he used to look out while he was writing. He wrote a majority of his short stories and books here. I think it was like 7 books he wrote here. And when his first publisher, John Martin, who published him throughout his entire life, he met him here in 1969. He walked in, he saw in Bukowski's closet that he had a stack of writings that he said were 2 to 3 feet high in the closet, like laying up against a wall, and he just started going through them and picking out things he liked, and actually formed the Black Sparrow Press in '69 because of that, just to publish him. And Bukowski had been a postal worker for I think from '57, and then in 1970 he just said it was killing him and he couldn't do it anymore. So John Martin and he made a deal, like a handshake deal, that Bukowski figured, based on his booze, his food, his rent, and paying child support, he could live on $100 a month. And so they shook hands and agreed that that would be the deal, that he would get paid at least $100 a month. And as soon as Bukowski quit the post office, within a few months, he finished his first book, Post Office. And he said that, when you're scared to death, you can write anything. And yeah, if you watch the Bukowski documentary, like I said, that all took place in here. This is so historic, and they actually, the people who bought this building a few years ago were going to demolish it, and Bukowski fans went nuts, and they petitioned to have it make a historical landmark, and the city actually agreed. And so crucifix and a death hand was written here. I mean, just gosh, so much stuff. Also, here is where he used to write about going to the Shakey's Pizza up around the corner. So I'm going to take you guys there, and then the liquor store he used to buy his liquor at, Ned's Liquor. But that was his window, and I'll post some pictures of him from the inside here. It's just so crazy for me to think of his 1953 Comet parked here, and just, gosh. One of the most brilliant minds of our generation. I'm going to go ahead and head over to that Shakey's, but one of my favorite stories that I read up on was the man who made the documentary on Bukowski. He filmed, like I said, he filmed a lot of it in there. He followed him around that period of his life, and then also filmed him when he went to San Francisco to perform at City Lights. And one of the funny things, one of the stories that he tells is, he says, we came back from that trip, we followed him throughout this whole tour, and we come back, and then he writes an essay that gets published, and he's basically calling us derogatory names and saying how he had to babysit us and how we were just lagging along and ruining his trip, and he goes, none of which was true. All of that was a lie. He said, so the next time I see him, I say, Charles, I'm really not too happy about what you said about our trip. And he says, Bukowski, he gets a big grin on his face and he starts laughing. He goes, hey baby, I'm the hero of my shit. The director guy goes, yeah, well, I have all the footage that just shows that you're lying. He goes, well, go ahead and do what you want with it. You tell your story, I got mine. It's okay, baby. I gotta be the hero. That's Bukowski in a nutshell. And the walk that we're taking now is the same walk he would have taken to go hit this Shakey's Pizza. And he talked about it in some of his writing, where he said he lived his life off this Shakey's Pizza for years, and then in the 80s it became nothing but Musso and Frank, which is kind of a testament to how well his writing was being received and the kind of money he was making off of it. So I just quit filming there because there were some kids playing. I don't want their parents to think I was filming their kids or whatever. But this is the Shakey's Pizza that Bukowski used to eat at. All the people eating inside are probably like, what is this dude doing walking around filming a Shakey's? But you guys know. There's the sign. And here's Bukowski's Shakey's. Now about a block away from the Shakey's to the north is the Ned's Liquor Store that Bukowski used to buy all of his alcohol at for like over 20 years. First I saw this, and then I saw this, and I'm like, is that supposed to be Michael Jackson? I'm guessing the hee-hee means yes. There's Jumbo's Clown Room, not exactly one of Charles Bukowski's hangouts, but it used to be one of mine. I used to, that was like the only bar across the street from where I used to live, and they used to show baseball games there during the day, so I ended up becoming friends with the door guy, who I'm still friends with to this day because he was a Cincinnati Reds fan. I went over there in a Pete Rose jersey one night. It's a pretty famous place. They've filmed a lot of music videos there, and Courtney Love used to be a burlesque dancer there. It's a burlesque club, not nude, but burlesque. There's a mural to the Armenian genocide. Also, nothing to do with Bukowski, but this is, I figured since I was over here I'd show you. This is where I used to live. And, man, I'll tell you, worst year of my life ever. I mean, as far as like personal, just everything that could go wrong when I lived here did. And my apartment, the old Jordan the Lion apartment, was up there in the balcony on the right. Right here. That was my bedroom. Now literally right on the very next street over from my apartment is the liquor store that Charles Bukowski used to write about, Ned's Liquor. And this was his liquor store for over 20 years. This was his liquor store. And we'll go ahead and put that on there for you right here. They've actually completely changed the inside. The inside's now reversed, where if you watch the documentary Bukowski, they show him in here. Originally the counter where he's paying would have been over here behind this window, and now it's right up here. And I used to come here not because I drank, but because they had the best selection of Little Debbie's anywhere. Shows you where my priorities were. The guys who own this were extremely cool. I'll see if I can go inside and get a little. Here it is. It no longer says Ned's Liquor, but that was it. And it's right up on the corner of Normandy and Hollywood. And Bukowski's apartment was about 3 blocks down this way. Look at that fencing. You know, that's pretty cool. Wait, that's Obama. Foam finger. I always feel like if I'm gonna film inside of a business, I should patronize it, so I spent 50 cents on a Little Debbie. I bet that building has a story. It's a great entrance. Now I'm heading over to the site that would have been his apartment after he left the DeLongcree place. Oh, by the way, guys, there was an 11/11 sale yesterday on this electronics website I go on, and I got a new digital camera that I might try using out. I don't know how I'm going to edit it exactly, but I got it because it was on sale. It was about $50 less than what it normally is, and I've been wanting it for a while, so went ahead and got it. I'm going to start exploring with it when I get it. And here's the walk down to where Bukowski used to live on Carlton Way. He lived at 5437 Carlton Way, and they, of course, much like we always do, they have destroyed the building. But one of the reports that I found on here was from the filmmaker of Bukowski I was telling you, and he said that one of the later years when he came back to visit Bukowski, he was staying over here, 5437, and he said he remembers distinctly hearing at night being woken up by a pimp trying to drown his hoe in the pool, and just being completely horrified by how bad the neighborhood had gotten. This is kind of funny. There's a guy out front of the building. He kind of looks like Bukowski. I think this would have been it. This would have been 5437 in its heyday before they rebuilt it. It's unfortunate. But, yeah, it would have been right here. That would have been 5437. Now it's looks like a retirement home building. But yeah, Bukowski lived here, well, on this land for 7 years. You know, it's sad it's gone, but of course we can't keep every dilapidated building around just because somebody lived there, I guess, you know. But man, isn't that interesting? Most of the guy's life, he just lived in total squalor apartments, and that's in part due to his extreme alcoholism and spending money at the track and on alcohol and boozing it up and partying and women and everything his whole life. And then part of it was, I think, just he felt comfortable in that lifestyle and he thrived in it. FYI, I have that Ernest Tubb album and it's awesome if you like good country music. Date's still going on. And just to end our Charles Bukowski vlog, I wanted to hit the Smog Cutter. Smog Cutter is a dive bar in kind of a seedy part of Los Angeles. But this was Charles Bukowski's bar of choice for a lot of years of his life, and in fact, this is the bar that he wrote Barfly off of. So if you've ever seen the movie of Barfly, or if you've ever read Barfly, Barfly was based off the Smog Cutter. It's a great book. You should definitely read it. It's about a guy who just wastes away in a bar. Alright, well, my date's over, and it was pretty awesome. She was really cool. Her name's Nikki, and I was telling her about, she asked me about my vlog, and so I was telling her about it, and then she actually, because of the neighborhoods and everything that we were in, she was just going like, well, show me some of the places that are around here. Show me some of the places that you vlogged, and which was pretty cool. But as we're doing this, she lets me in on this little nugget. She tells me that she used to rent the Wunderland House where the John Holmes murders happened, and she said it was just a few years ago. I think she said 2009, and she said at the time it was only like $1,700 for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath in Laurel Canyon up there, and said it was the original patio furniture was the same patio furniture that was there when the murders happened. And she said that the only place that there was no blood in that whole place was the kitchen. So what she said was that sometime we're gonna go up there and she's gonna tell us some stories as we go up to the house. How cool. I mean, I've seen a documentary on John Holmes, so I knew all about the murders and how they happened. And then if you watch the Wonderland movie that Val Kilmer was in, that's pretty interesting. So that could be a really cool vlog.